20 years ago, I went out to dinner here with my aunt and uncle after I graduated Ward Melville High School. So this is a tremendous homecoming for me. Alrighty, I'm working on volume. So anyway, so what I have to say tonight is really just truly thank you. When we heard about the ripples in the pond, I just wanted to tell you about how you are all, about 20 plus years ago, throwing your ripple, your stone into a pond that basically raised me. When I was kind of growing up, went to Jolinas, went to Ward Melville, and had a very interesting senior year. My senior year started where I was living in Stony Brook with my biological mom, and shortly into that year, something happened. My mom had she's got bipolar disorder, and she had a big manic flare-up, which resulted in her deciding to call the police and have me removed from my house. And that sounds like a pretty interesting way to start a senior year. To be honest, it was a miracle. What I lived through before that happened was pretty intense. I lived a life of perfectionism, just trying to avoid triggering my mom's different episodes. So one of the things that I really get to say thank you for tonight is CYS. Because one of the things that happened throughout summers is I got to play softball, and it wasn't on TV. It was well before Grand Theft Auto. It was actually played outside, and one of the cool things is that I didn't have much money when I was a kid, but I had a lot of heart. So I figured I'd share this story. I showed up in 1988 to play softball, and I was really excited. But I didn't have the best of equipment. I had this little glove that was more plastic than leather. So some of the kids weren't raised very much intact. And so they looked at my glove and they said, "Who autographed your glove? Charlie Brown." And so what I knew that they didn't is that I had more heart than perhaps they did at that moment. So it was an amazing summer. I had like the best time, and what they noticed is that this glove actually caught balls. It actually got them out when they hit the ball. And so shortly into the season, I was nicknamed Scoopy because my glove was autographed by Charlie Brown. So I just thought I'd share that story with you because it's kind of pretty amazing, because that season was really transformational, because the kids who were on the team, they started realizing that perhaps they judged a book by its cover too soon. So at the end, when I was presented, with this sportsmanship award, it's a pretty amazing moment. I share that story because one of the questions that was asked on my college application was, what were the awards you won, and why were they most important to you? So of course, this little trophy that says CYS 1988 sportsmanship was part of that application. The reason I was able to make that application happen was that when I was kicked out, when the police officers took me in, when the police officers took me away from my mom's house, they knew of a place called Seabury Barn, which was in Stony Brook. So I was kicked out September 14th, 1990, and I arrived at Seabury Barn, same school district. Total miracle. Total miracle. I was back to school on Monday, September 17th. I had the best senior year I could have ever imagined. And shortly after, about 30 days into my stay at Seabury Barn, I realized that there was a 30-day time limit, so I realized I should probably figure out a next step. And so that's when I started telling a few of my closer friends what was going on. So my best friend, Justin Mason, was the first person I told. And that night he went to his mom and said, "Hey Mom, I got a friend who's living in a shelter. What can we do?" Fortunately, what was miraculous is that they had just sent their eldest daughter, Shannon Mason. I don't know if any of you know Bob and Melanie Mason, but they used to live on Blydenburg Lane, just so that night they called Seabury Barn and said, we got an extra room because our eldest daughter is going away to Duke University. The cool part of her going to Duke is that, you know, when they took me in, it was my senior year, and her boyfriend was going to Cornell. And what I didn't know until it was application time was that she decided not to apply to Cornell, early decision. So she left this, well, at the time I saw it, a really dusty Cornell application just sitting around the house. So at the time, I really, you know, I had no idea what I was doing. I was in the senior year. I got great grades because I was a perfectionist, right? So like, I did all these, you know, things to just make sure my mom didn't yell. Did art club, history club, you know, you name. I lettered in sports I didn't care about. You know, just to sort of take the second late bus. And apparently, whatever I did in avoidance was the right thing to do to apply to school at the same time. So anyway, when they first took me in, they knew it was time to apply to school, and I was applying to Geneseo State because that's what I thought I could afford. And they said, well, we happen to have this other application, why don't you fill it out? Whatever, you know, so of course I got that question about, you know, what awards I was proud of and a few other questions that I didn't really know the answer to because there were like these demographic things like about mom and dad, and I didn't really know how to answer those questions. But long story short, Bob and Melanie helped me fill out that application, pay the $65 application fee, and then April 1991, I first get this waitlist letter from Geneseo State. And I'm like, wow, Geneseo doesn't want me. What right do I have to apply to Cornell? And so that night I went to the library with Melanie Mason, and I just scoured all the demographics and like, why would Cornell accept me? How could this happen if Geneseo doesn't want me? And the only way I was able to get to sleep for the next 3 or 4 nights before the envelope came was I realized I was applying to the College of Human Ecology, and it was mostly women. So it turned out that I was only able to go to sleep knowing that I was a guy. So that was kind of my sleep place for 3 nights. So anyway, and we had a protocol set up at the house where, you know, I was gonna run home, no one was gonna check the mail, I was gonna be able to open my own envelope, whatever the fate was, I was gonna get to see it. So Tuesday, whatever, around about a month ago, mid-April, run up the hill, and I get to the mailbox and there's nothing in it. And I'm like, this isn't right. So then I run into the house, and there's Melanie Mason sitting, crying in the living room with an open envelope. So you'd already know that she broke the rule, right? So anyway, she let me read the letter anyway, but it said, sure, you know, Eric can come here. And so that was pretty... Thank you. I mean, that was an amazing part of the story. I guess it was a day of multiple miracles because acceptance letter in hand, I said, so what does this mean? You know, I was planning on applying to Geneseo because I thought I could afford it. And I said, what does this mean? And Melanie said, well, we strongly believe in giving all of our children the first 4 years of their education. So I'm like, okay, well what does that mean? I was still not really grasping what just happened. So someday, mid-April 1991, not only did I find out I was getting a full ride to Cornell University, but I also found out I got a new mom and dad. So I mean, you know, this is 21 years later, and it's just pretty amazing to be able to say thank you to the community that basically raised me. I mean, what you all did, you don't know it, but I mean, you made me who I am today, and it's just so wonderful to be able to say thank you and to let you know that these ripples they land. And I guess what I love to share is that I get to spend the rest of my life doing what my parents did for me, for other kids. You know, I'm kind of on this journey that I have no idea where it's going. I'll share a few highlights. I know, like I want to keep it brief, but something happened this past Tuesday that I've been kind of still really humbled by. But Tuesday afternoon, I got to eat lunch with the Gandhi family. Arun, Tushar, and I guess Gandhi's great-great-granddaughter in Bath, New York. And it became, I had an opportunity to just say, this is what I'm up to in the world, and I'm trying to take a whole bunch of kids to run the Honolulu Marathon with me this December, and I want to give kids their dreams back. I want to give kids the idea that just because they're houseless right now, that they don't have to be homeless, and that they get to know who they really are inside by believing in themselves. There's no one else that's going to believe in ourselves for us. So the best way, like we really need to take ourselves back. So as soon as I told the Gandhi family what I was up to, Tushar Gandhi puts his arm on my shoulder and he says, "Eric, we need you at our school." And I said, "Where's your school?" He's like, "It's in Mumbai." So it looks like one of the next stops for this little kid who you all raised is Mumbai, India. So likely I'm going to be running the Honolulu Marathon in December and the Mumbai Marathon in January. So there's just a lot of... When you make an investment here, my old CYS, your Boys and Girls Club, it goes places. It means something. And I can just close by saying, when your kids are playing video games, my kids do it too. I've got 3. I've got an 11, a 9, and a 7-year-old, and they're amazing. They would trade in all of their video games with, every single one of them for time with you. I know that for a fact because every single time I offer, admittedly it's now a leather glove, but I offer the opportunity to play catch with my boy every time he'll shut up the video game console. So this is a placeholder, these video games. Like I don't, it is addictive, but it's a placeholder. There's nothing that your love can't break through. Nothing. So I know that for a fact. The other thing I can share is that the biggest thing that we owe our kids is to live big into our own dreams. They copy. They don't do what we say. They do what we do. So just know that if you're not living into your dreams, they're watching that. If you're not excited to go to work every day, they see that. And that's why they play video games. So, I'm serious. This is the ripple effect that can start here at home. When we sit and just, I was a closet fantasy football guy. I could literally, before I started running, I could watch, I don't know, the 1 o'clock, the 4 o'clock, the 7 o'clock. So I could watch like 11 hours of football straight on a Sunday, on a beautiful Sunday. And, that was time I took for my kids. And I actually tried to justify it. I tried to teach them the math of football. I was like, that was my little, parenting thing, little rationalization. So all I can honestly say is thank you. What you all did for me when I didn't even know you, when not many people from my high school knew my story, y'all really showed up big for me. So I just really want to say thank you. I'm an open book. There's so much more of the story that I would totally love to share, but I know some of you need to go home. I'm a national speaker, so I do this for a living, and it's such an honor to be able to come home and just say thank you. So with that, thank you. I really honor what you're all up to.